not be able to speak when you recognize the public.
No, let me suggest this, and I'll take input from the board. The reason why these items were not on the agenda is because we priced the employees, and we wanted, the board, at my advice, wanted to have the opportunity to meet with these employees, as they did with many of them. We do not want to put it necessarily on the agenda because there's no reason to call embarrassment to people. And again, the affected employees were priced, did have an opportunity, and many of them took on that opportunity. The board at this point has made a decision. I advise them, as not a legal decision, let the members of the public who signed up talk about personnel. As always, no good deed goes unpunished. Now what I'm hearing, and I'm just rephrasing, well, now we want many people who didn't know these items were on to discuss. There is no legal ruling on that. There is no case I know of that says there's an entitlement to that. Number two, there is a board policy somewhere in here saying that duplicative comments are not necessarily have to be heard. That, again, I'm just giving you what's here. I'm not telling you my position because I don't vote. But the fact is, the board, unless they want to amend their policy, need not amend their policy. So does the board want to amend their policy to allow additional people to speak? I have to ask the board.
Yes.
Okay, I have one person who's saying yes. That to amend the policy and to essentially let everyone here who wants to speak on personnel. Oh, those who are signed up.
Yes.
Let me make it clear.
Okay.
What happened was you had people who believed that if they were going to speak on the personnel decision, they would not be recognized in the public.
So can I say this, Mr. Williams? What you're saying, which is what I said, and even you'll agree, Reverend, if you're signed up here, do you want to speak on the personnel? You're saying their understanding was if they spoke on the personnel, they couldn't speak on anything else. But then I have this young lady here, who I happen to know, who's saying she's lovely at Clark, she should stay there for many years. But then she is going to say, as she's screaming in this audience here, that not just people on this list, but people who didn't know to be on the list. What would you say on that?
What I would say is you then delineate to the public that there are two separate lists.
There's only one list.
And that list is for the public.
Right.
Not the personnel.
Well, let me say this too, so we're not disingenuous with each other.
Can we vote?
So we're not disingenuous with each other. There are many staff members here who clearly knew the board was taking action this evening. Let us call it as it is.
Let's do this evening. Why?
Well, it was private, but there were signs, for example, today in the high school. Please don't make me say what I must say. These actions were known. Now, if they weren't known, that happens. The public was given a chance to sign up. You make one valid point in my legal opinion. Like Reverend Wilson, Pastor, who will agree, if he does. I said, Pastor, and please, let's, as we always are together on these issues. I said, there's a list, you're on it. Are you speaking about personnel? He said no. Now you're saying he assumed that if he spoke about personnel, he couldn't speak about other things. I have no reason to doubt a man of cloth, that is the pastor. If that was your understanding, I'm sorry, certain board members may be upset with me, but I don't care. The fact is, if that was your misunderstanding...
I have one concern that I expressed to you in private.
Do you want to speak about personnel?
Yes.
Then go to the mic if the board so allows you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very much as well.
Now, Mr. Williams, I already have Seitler thinking he's my associate lawyer. I don't need another. Go on. Come on now. Let's go, Mr. Pastor.
I have a tremendous conflict for the simple fact that I sat in all the proceedings for this particular grant. And I knew that the board would have to make the final decision on what happens. However, I do not believe that Ms. Daniel should be moved to the high school. I believe that Ms. Daniel should stay right where she's at, because there are some reasons, Michael, which I expressed to you, and I hope that you can express it to the board.
In fact, Mr. Daniels, if she's still here, I hope, she did express those. Mr. Daniels, correct? You did express those.
Those reasons are a major concern why she does not need to go to the high school. She's doing a great job at the Clark School. But like I said, I do not want to be in conflict, because I did know, having sat through all the proceedings for the grant, I knew that it would come down to this. So I remain silent on everything else, except, I believe that for those reasons, Ms. Daniel should be left alone.
Thank you. Now, so we're fair here. Dr. Rush, you signed up. Let me just find your name, doctor, not that I doubt you. 1502 Malibu Drive.
How'd you know my address, Michael? Listen, does that mean I can speak on another issue later on? I just want to make sure.
Well, we're here now about his personnel.
Right.
Do you want to speak about personnel?
Oh, yeah, it has to do with personnel.
Go.
Yes. First of all, I sat through several meetings. I was asked to be a part of the committee for the grant. I sat through several meetings, gave what I thought was decent input regarding the grant. The committee decided to go with the transformational model. That is what was given to the board 3 weeks ago in a presentation.
Yeah, I need water. We just need some water. It's a little hot there.
Okay, I'll wait.
Here, I have water. Sorry.
Okay. We sat through, no problem, and the committee decided that we could go with the transformational model. Now, I did not know until tonight that the model had changed. Being a part of the committee and the many hours that I spent, and had no problem doing it because I'm glad I was asked to be a part of that the grant was signed, we had to sign the grant, it was sent to Trenton. My issue is somebody or was somebody going to let those of us from the community who were on the committee let us know that it changed, and is there a procedure that if the grant initiative changed from transformational to turnaround? That's one question. Second question, and correct me if I'm wrong, the turnaround model calls for the removal of the principal and 50% of the staff. 50% of the staff. My question to the board and to the superintendent, are we, in this day and time with everything going on, are we prepared to change 50% of the staff? That's a lot of staff members. My point to the board is, timing is everything. With everything that's going on in this district, with everything going on surrounding us, we have a new board. You may have some board members sitting who may not be sitting here this time next month.
Well, okay. We only have one because she's not running.
Right, well, right, you may have others, I don't know that. Okay, my issue is, because of the timing of this entire situation regarding the grant, put the changes on hold when you know whether you're getting the grant or not. Then the superintendent can come back to the board and say, I'm recommending this. Ms. Yulee is already tenured, so firing is not the issue. That's a whole thing that would take several times to do. But I'm suggesting to the Board of Education, for everybody's sake, to put this on hold, and hopefully we'll get the grant, and then the superintendent can make a decision. That's that one. Secondly, thank you. All of our schools have some issues, and as was stated, it did not take us, took us a long time to be in need. I said to the district 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, that in order to understand what AYP means, I do know that Clark School has made improvements. I do know that Clark School received a letter from the State Department saying that the reason they were in need or did not make AYP was mainly because of out-of-district placement. You cannot do anything about out-of-district placement. Once you have a kid out of the district, and you have 42 indicators. Those indicators, if you fail one indicator, then your school goes into need. So that's why I mentioned to the board last 2 weeks, everybody needs to understand exactly what AYP is. And those are my issues on that. Thank you.
Are you signed up?
Yes.
And your name?
Minister Maria Vaughn.
Oak Street.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Ms. Silva, I respect who you are, but I'm not respecting the decision that you're making on behalf of Ms. Yulee. I don't feel that you have given her the opportunity to continue what she has started. She only has been here, I think, a year and a half, 2 years, or whatever it is. But I don't think you have really thought this through. And with what I'm hearing about all the other principals and assistant principals, I feel that you're making a very bad error here. There have been so many changes that has taken place in the high school. I have 2 children there. I'm not speaking on what I've heard. I'm speaking on being there and being a part of their lives. And it has been a tremendous change. It has been a great relationship with her and the children. And for you to take her out at this particular time, timing is everything. You can mess this whole situation up. What has been done, you're trying to undo. You can destroy the children. And right now, you're talking about a grant, and I understand all that, with finances, money and all that, but I feel you need to be more concerned about the students. And it hurts my heart that you can sit there and not be concerned about the students and take a grant over the students. And I feel my daughter, she's in the 11th grade going into the 12th, and I have a freshman going into sophomore. And I'm really nervous about you making these changes because it can destroy my children. And I'm very prevalent in their lives. I'm a single parent, and I don't want to be concerned about my children coming to the school and have all these other things going on. They need to get a good education. That's what we should be here being concerned about, their education. And it seems to me that you're putting and placing the grant over the students. And that's hurting me. And I don't know if you have kids or if you had kids, and to make sudden changes like that can be very detrimental to them. And I just pray that you take the time to review what you're doing, because you can make a big mistake. And when kids have relationships with adults, they manage better. They learn better. They have a better understanding. And for you to just snatch her out of their lives, it can be very, very detrimental. And you can make a big, big error here. Things can happen worse. There can be more gangs prevalent. There can be more violence prevalent. You have to look at the big picture. And to me, you're looking at the small picture here. There's more to it than just this grant. And I would like to know, you say that if you don't get the grant, that she can stay. When will we know about the grant? When will this grant be in effect? And I just pray that you don't be your heart is not so hard. Because right now we're trying to talk to you and trying to have you understand what's really going on, and your heart is very hardened right now. And I just pray that your heart gets softened so you will understand what the students are going to face when you snatch Miss Yulee out of the high school. So just use some wisdom. I know we're talking about the grant, but you need to use some wisdom.
Mike, I have a question. If we receive the grant, is there a split in the grant for public and non-public, or it's all?
Let me answer that question, because I've heard that this evening, and I sat here as a Lakewood High School graduate embarrassed that that comment was made. It's us against them. It isn't. You know what? It's you against yourself. The bottom line here is, if we get this grant, and you can answer this, doctor, this money is going all to the public school students, correct?
This money is going all to the high
Yes,
school.
all public school money.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Can they answer my question? Can they answer the question about the grant? When will we know about the grant?
Can we call, was the motion made or anything? The motion was made? Yes. Can we have a roll call, please? Mr. Fink and Mrs. Gonzalez. Motion was made? Yes, it was. A second, yes. Can we make a motion? The roll call, please.
Which one is this on you?
Roll call.
We're talking about the first motion,
Which is?
This is Yuli.
the Yulee motion.
Just that or the whole thing?
I've been told they want, it's your pleasure.
Let's do the whole thing.
It's easier to remember. We have eight different
So maybe
people.
let's do 3 at a time.
3 at a time, Mr. President.
Can we do 3 at a time, so I think not much we'll remember?
The Yulee motion, the Laura Winters to make
No, make it 4, 8, to make it 4 at a time.
the Yulee motion, the Winters motion to become principal at Oak, the Miss Maldonado motion to go to Oak as assistant principal, and the Marty DeDaniels motion to go to the principal of discipline and student affairs at the high school. The numbers were given before.
Okay.
Those
Let's
are,
make motion to,
so is that your motion, Mr. Fink, to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Ada, second.
Discussion.
Discussion?
We didn't bring up any discussion on Ms. Maldonado.
okay, we're gonna limit our discussions here. Make it a minute.
Go.
Let's go.
Okay. I feel the same way about Ms. Maldonado in the middle school. Here again, we have a prize student of our high school, a product of Lakewood, who works her way up to being a teacher, an assistant, a vice principal, and a principal, and she's barely been there for a year and a half. And we tell our students, this is what you get paid for working for our district and working your way up. I would urge my board members, my fellow board members, to vote no on this particular portion of the motion.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, roll.
Yeah, through the
I'm
chair.
sorry.
I also agree with Ms. Ostrander about that. Like I said before, any time that we deal with personnel issues in this district, dealing with staff and dealing with the students, it's always an issue. This is something that we can't rush through because it's dealing with people's lives, especially the kids who will have the most, who will be hurt the most if these moves take place. This is something that we really can't, let's hurry up and get this vote out, let's hurry up and vote 3 and vote this and vote that. This is something that the public really needs to give their opinion on. Because after the meeting, they have to go home and explain to their kids what changes are being taken place in the schools that their kids attend. This is something, like I said, that cannot be rushed, and my vote is still no on all of that.
And are there any other comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Fink? Yes. Mrs. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio?
Yes.
We're voting, order. We're voting on Ms. Yulee's motion, Ms. Winters, Ms. Maldonado, and Ms. DeDaniel.
We're all for it.
Only 4.
Yes? Okay, next.
Mr. Seidler?
I think that Ms. Micchio is a little confused about the vote. I don't think she's sure. Really, I don't think she's really sure about what she's voting on. Really, I don't know.
Ms. Micchio, Ms. Yulee, you vote yes or no on?
Yes, the keeper.
Can I ask her? Oh, Do we allow, perhaps we've been told as confused. Do we allow her to change her vote if she wants to?
Yes.
Okay. Do we just have,
I'm supporting the superintendent.
on all? All right. Next.
Mr. Seidler. Mr. Tiff.
No.
Mr. Zlatkin.
Yes.
Mr. Ostriker.
I'm voting on Ms. Yuli, no. On Ms. Winters or
Winters.
Ms. Winters, yes. Mr. Daniels, no. And Mr. Maldonado, no.
Mr. Grunheit. Yes.
Does it pass?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. The next motion, I'm doing this in a set of 4. Terminate employee 6795 effective May 6, 2011. Paid administrative leave through June 14, 2011. Hold increment of SS and improvement plans to be put into effect. Not to renew employee CJ as health benefits coordinator and return to non-instructional para for 11-12. And not to renew employee KG as a para for 11-12. There are 4 motions. There are 4 employees. Is there a motion? Move. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Can you say, repeat the 4?
Repeat the 4. Employee 6795 to terminate effective May 6, 2011. Paid administrative leave through June 14, 2011. Hold the increment of SS and have an improvement plan to be put into effect. Not to renew as health benefit employee CJ and return to non-instructional para. Not to renew employee KG. The first employee 6795 is Mr. Green. Okay? Is there a motion? There was. There was a second.
Yes, there was.
Call it, please.
Mr. Fink.
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio. Mr. Seidler.
Abstain.
Once there's a confusion. Michael, one second. Yes. You need to go over that before we get. Well, not know. You just said.
Okay, we need order. Is there a motion to allow people to change their vote due to confusion? Can't hear.
Yeah, there's a motion.
Employee 6795, which is Mr. Green, to terminate. To hold that's the number. So there's a first and second. Now, is there a call? Could you please call it again?
Mr. Fink.
Abstain.
Abstain on all 4?
On the first one.
Thank you, Mr. Zlatkin.
Yes on everything else.
Yes on everything else. Next.
Yes to everything.
Mrs. Micchio.
Yes on 3. I don't vote for number 3. I vote no. I will vote no on number 3.
On number 3. Which would be number 3? CJ. Everything else is yes, no on CJ.
Michael,
Next.
I want to change my vote. I need to vote with this. I'm voting yes on everything.
Okay.
Okay, we wait.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Fink wants to change his vote. All in favor? Mr. Fink, you're voting what now?
Yes.
Yes on everything. Mrs. Micchio just voted yes, except for CJ. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Next.
Mr. Seidler.
No on 1, yes on 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. Tift.
No on everything.
What was that?
No on everything.
Mr. Zlatkin.
No on first.
Right.
No on first and yes on all 3.
Yes on the other 3? Okay. Mr. Ostriker.
No on CJ and yes on the others.
Mr. Grunheim? Yes on all.
Does that pass?
Some of them do, yes.
It passes all four. Is there anything else? Mr. Zlatkin, you said you needed to leave, I remind you. You didn't say you needed to leave. It's 11:30. All right, if you need to leave, let the record reflect Mr. Zlatkin is leaving at 11:45. There is some public people who have signed up to discuss. If you have not, next, Dr. Rush. Well, why are you coming close here? On April 30th, there is a special event being held at the high school.
Can I just make a motion on the agenda and then after that to adjourn?
All right, you want to do the agenda first, sir?
Yeah, I have a few questions.
All right, Ms. Dr. Rush, please hold for a second. We're going to first look at the agenda.
On item P.
Give us a second. Item page P.
Item, page 6, item P. No, you're not.
Question?
Yeah, on the item, no, not item P, item Q. Is that, how did that fall in over here all of a sudden?
The question is about item 6P, sir?
No, Q. Q.
I'm sorry. What is the question?
We did this back about a month ago. What happened now?
Mr. Business Administrator, why is Q there? We'll ask Ms. Benal and Mr. Gus who are in the audience. Item 6Q. Any other questions other than that? Do you have an answer why 6Q we did it about?
Yeah, I have another question about this also. Are we busing people from Liberty Jackson High School? On item S?
Yeah, under a jointure. That's under a jointure.
They're paying for it?
Yes.
Yep, well, okay.
I'm sorry, the Liberty High School.
What letter is that?
Item S. We're paying to go there.
Page 6, letter S.
Yes, is this a special, excuse me, hi, he may not know. This is a special ed student, a public school student who was recommended in-district at Jackson, out-of-district, but in a public school program.
Yeah, that's part of the, Mr. Seidler, that's part of the IEP. In reference to item Q, Mr. Seidler, in item Q, what had happened is, and this occurred before I arrived, apparently there was an agreement between NEGBA and CLAR to transfer runs over to CLAR, and for whatever reason, it didn't happen exactly as it was planned through those two people. So we had to actually negate that agreement and go to the second lowest bidder. That happened to be CLAR, and that's the price for the second lowest bidder.
So let me get this right. Due to an agreement between NEGBA and CLAR, which didn't get followed by NEGBA.
That's correct.
So now the board has to have an additional, I'm bad at math.
Through the chair, we're about to lose a quorum. Mr. Fink, you get a fifth vote.
Oh, I am?
No, I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah, I'm sorry.
The record should reflect tonight, Mr. Fink.
Good night.
So due to the action of NEGBA, we're being asked to pay this additional money?
Due to the inaction by NEGBA, we're going to be doing this money.
Through the chair. Is there any way that we can get back the money from NEGBA?
We'll certainly work on that.
Any other questions?
Yes. Are we still in the process of...
Yes, the hearing's in May.
Yes, okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Seeing none. Okay. Is there a motion on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean...
There's a motion. Is there a second on the agenda?
Second.
Are you going, could you roll call, please?
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio. Mr. Seidler.
Yes.
Mr. Tiff.
Yes.
Stand by 1 minute. Yes.
Mr. Zlatkin. Mr. Oestreicher.
Yes.
Mr. Grunhut.
Yes.
Now that we've did the agenda, we must keep the public. Ms. Dr. Rush.
Thank you. And I won't be long. What I put before you was a promotional card.
I'm just making sure we have a quorum. At 11:50, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Yeah, I put before you a promotional card for a workshop that we're having on April 30th. I will apologize because information had gone out that the board should have been aware of that you were not aware of. So I apologize for the information going out erroneously. Now, the workshop is going to take place. I'm asking for your sanction, and number one, I'm asking if you will allow your superintendent or your deputy, your assistant superintendent to work with me to perhaps provide some funding. We don't know what, but any funding they can assist us with regarding this very important. Regarding this very important workshop.
Doctor?
Yes.
Any other points? Because I want to ask the superintendent about your request. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Well, the superintendent seems to be in the back room. But can we maybe get the superintendent? I know, but the superintendent was directly involved in this. In fact, I saw a letter from Dr. Rush to the superintendent on her desk. So what you're asking for is some funding. Is there a dollar amount to your funding request?
No more than $2,000.
No more than $2,000 for this Lakewood High School gang prevention. Is that a fair word?
You can use gang prevention if you want, yes. Nonviolent workshops.
Okay.
We're expecting 300-400 students.
And where is the rest of the funding coming from, sir?
From the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, from Prevention First, from the State Department, Bob Singer, and from the Municipal Alliance.
Okay, let's give her a few seconds before we end tonight. She'll give us an answer.
Thank you.
Let her process that.
Thank you.
The next person, please. Carol Cousins. Welcome. It's almost tomorrow.
And I've been here 2 nights in a row, by the way. So, we had a program last night. I would have liked to have seen a board member, an administrator. It would have been really nice. We had a fast program here last night. Mr. Tiff's wife was here. We had several good speakers. Our children enjoyed Radio Disney in the room next door. And in spite of the thundering and the lightning, we had a very good time. On another note, tonight has been very interesting. I'll wait for you, Mr. Michael.
We were discussing Dr. Rush's request.
I want to make sure you hear everything I say.
I always do.
All right. I'm really upset tonight. I applaud the board's lack of judgment in announcing some of these changes before testing. There are children who will be affected, and will be concerned about the changes that the district is looking at making. And I want to talk about that word change because it seems that there's a very large misconception by the superintendent that some of us are adverse to change. And we've had this discussion before. And I want to make it very clear that last year when those paras were asked to take the test, it was not the fact that they were asked to take the test. It was the manner in which it was done. They did not mind, they had been told, but it was the way in which the district handled it. And that was the issue. And we tend to not consider our staff members when we do things. We just do them. And if there's anyone, I know when I first started teaching, I was always told to be prepared in education for change. So, in fact, in life, you have to be prepared for change. It happens every second. So I'm not afraid of change, and I don't think the teachers are either. I did want to ask about the SIG grant. I'm really concerned about that grant. I'd like to know if we will receive a finalized copy. The copy I have, it says it's a draft, and I do know that you have to go back and make some changes to that, and that you have until April 27th to finalize it and send it in. So I'd like to know, when will we be given a copy, or are we being given a copy of the grant? And I want to thank Dr. Rush for giving his little expose about AYP. I still think the district needs to make sure that the audience knows, and I'm not even sure the board members understand AYP. So that's a good one. Trying to think something else I had. I have all these little notes here. So I think also the board needs to be very careful as they move forward, as people leave, as things are being said, because the words age discrimination keep coming through my ear. So I hope that we're not looking at doing things, because comments have been made throughout the district that would make it appear that this district is trying to get rid of all the old people. So just make sure you're careful about what you say.
Okay. Annette Carney, please, Annette Carney.
I'm more fearful of my mother than any of you, so the correct way to pronounce my last name is Kearney. I just have a quick statement. Tonight there's been a lot of emotions. There's been a lot of back and forth. Decisions had to be made. My concern is tomorrow at the high school. If this is what took place tonight, what is the board prepared to do if things are not in order at the high school tomorrow? And that's my only question.
Superintendent, I'm sure you'll handle that.
One of the things that I have to say about that, having been a principal, knowing principals, no matter what happens to you personally, that has to continue, whatever it is you're doing. And that's what I'm going to expect from the administration of this high school. Because if you're placing children first, you would never put your own personal differences or whatever in light, and you would continue to have the control. But yes, we are also cognizant of that.
Through the chair, I'd like to follow up on Ms. Kearney's question. Are we prepared to do anything regarding the student body, perhaps, doing something unexpected? Perhaps they may not agree with the decision that was arrived at this evening.
Appropriate security measures will be taken. Charlotte Johnson, is that correct? I don't want to stay. I will be in court tomorrow, so I will not be here. Well, last time there was a melee, I was expecting to be here. Charlotte Johnson. Barbara Cutter, I do believe I saw her. I don't know if she's still here. Does she want to forget her?
Barbara Cutter, 65 Drake Road, Lakewood. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for the return phone call. Again, serious lack of communication again from the high school and administration. There's an issue, wanted to discuss, no one available. Or I'm told I'll get return phone calls, doesn't happen. I want to also, in addition to what Annette Kearney said about plans dealing with the high school tomorrow, I personally stood over there listening to the children, and I can tell you, there's a plan to cause chaos at the high school. I hope you have something in place.
Mr. Pollard? Mr. Pollard? Seeing no Mr. Pollard. Ms. Cousins spoke. Mr. Mandel? No. Mr. Mandel, we're going to be fair to everyone. We gave...
I just want to say that I'm a taxpayer I know nothing about what's happening at the high school, but if there's an issue, I'll say to the superintendent, I will support you and I'll be there to help out.
Thank you.
Okay?
Mr.
That's what it's
Man.
all about. And I
Okay.
agree with what you said about if you're professional, you do your job no matter what.
Mr. Mandel.
Like, so, say everything on my list, but item number P that was approved already, was there any cost analysis done on the renewal of contracts to see if other bids that came out on similar routes were cheaper?
What page is that, sir?
That's page 6, number P. And on page 7, number 3, what does it mean? Approve the following student to attend Tom's River School homeless.
Drop your my friend.
Thank you. Answer to the question. Okay. Would you like to answer that, Gustavus or Patty?
As far as the summer routes, yes, we did look at them, and again, because these routes are old and they're constantly being renewed, we are benefiting from prices that were set many years ago. If we rebid them now in light of the current atmosphere with the fuel prices and with additional costs that are at, there's a very high probability that the costs will be much higher. And we base that on quotes that we've talked to the vendors about on other runs and also what they would do here. So we could certainly run the risk of rebidding these, but I think right now there's a high probability you're going to get much higher prices because they would be bid in today's terms. So that's why we're looking at renewing, and again, you're looking at a zero increase. So I think that's a pretty fair thing to do. And the other item, I'm sorry, that he mentioned?
Number 3, page 7.
Number 3, approve the following student to attend Tom's district. Well, that's simply, that's a mandate. We have no choice about that.
Thank you. Madeline Monison. Rashawn Caughey. Zika Zariah. Mark Brown. Maria Renazzo. Carmen Adorno. There was one addendum that was incidentally not read. Oh, you want to, 1 minute. I'm sorry, I forgot, I crossed you off before. Hold, 1 minute. There's an addendum, approval to reimburse medical expenses for Dr. Bob's from the amount of $648 due to being removed from the district's health benefit plan from July 1st, 10 to December 31st, 10 in error. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please call it.
Aye.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Micchio.
Yes.
Mr. Tiff.
Mike, how much is the amount again?
$648.
$648?
$648.
Yes.
Mr. Oestreicher.
Yes.
Mr. Grunheim. Yes.
Okay, there was an error on my part. There was 2 people who signed up before, Mr. Habe and Mr. Wood. And Pastor, if you wanted, so to stay nearby. Mr. Simon, are you joining us up here or getting votes out there?
I have a quorum.
Oh, you don't have to. She's very, very persuasive. Mr. Hopday.
Bill Hoppe, 30 Schoolhouse Lane. The question is an issue that occurred again last week with the NAGPA bus.
Can you just speak up because apparently we're hearing their discussion and not yours?
A NAGPA bus pulled up to a school at 1536.
I'm going to ask you one question though. Is this on a Sunday or when we're not busing the children?
No, it is a school day.
Okay.
I reported it to yourself and to Gus and to Chief Lawson. I know that I got feedback that that's not a school district school.
Right.
And I understand that. But we must have some kind of influence over NAGPA to say you cannot make a U-turn where it's clearly posted no U-turn. And you cannot make a left-hand turn where it's clearly posted no left turn.
I can help you with this. We are having a hearing. The board has voted to have a hearing at the county level, which is set scheduled for May 10th. May 10th at the Ocean County Office of Superintendent. At that time, the alleged infractions of that company will be discussed. The board has made a motion to do this for the county to determine if he is a qualified bidder.
And that complaint is on that list?
And that complaint is on that list.
I thank you, because it's a dangerous situation for everybody.
We agree. That's
Every
why
move.
we're on that list.
Mike, through the chair, Mr. Hopday, you as a private citizen can document the plate number, the bus number of that bus.
We did that.
Go down to the police station and issue a summons as a private citizen. You can't do that.
It is a private citizen. What I always try to do is to, not dialogue, I'm speaking to the chairman, the president.
Sorry.
Is to document what happened.
And just so Mr. Hopkins is aware, it is on the list, and we are going to the county on May 10th. It is one of hundreds allegedly on the list.
I thank you.
Okay.
But rather than signing the complaint myself, I prefer to turn it over to the proper authority.
Which was the police department and ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Wilson.
That's fine. I just want to know, last week there was an incident at the high school where, bottom line is, the student was arrested for a fight. All I want to know is, what is the policy? What is the policy? Because there's been other fights at the high school and the students were not arrested. As a matter of fact, the students were protected from the police. In this particular incident, the student was arrested. So I just want to know, what is the policy? Is every student who fights going to be arrested? What is the policy there? That's all I want.
Every principal knows, when we had principals meetings, I encourage them not to have conditions in which children can be arrested. I think it's very bad, and considering the number of our children that are already incarcerated. And one of the things I stress to principals is to try everything. In the case that you're talking about, the SRO officer, Mr. Cohen, was contacted. He came, I understand, and I saw a film about it. There was a lot of aggression that was taking place. I believe that the principal called on security, and the security determined that it was such an egregious nature, and then I think that's when the police were called. But no, it is not a policy to arrest our children if they fight. Children fight, all of us at one point or another physically fought. So no, I'm very clear that that's not what I encourage.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
I think you wanted to come back.
Yes, I do. And I know Ms. Silver's probably going to hate me for the rest of her life.
Well, this is love here, not hate.
Yeah, like Mr. Oxtraker said. I want to offer a submission to the board, because I think sometimes the board doesn't have proper background and understanding of some of the decisions Ms. Silver is making. So I want to ask permission to submit this to the president, and he can disseminate it.
Do you have copies?
I don't have a copy, but I think you guys can go ahead and make copies.
All right, well then bring it up and give it to Mr. Grunhut. I don't know what it is, he'll tell us.
And giving that to you, Mr. Grunhut, for the rest of the board members, just want to state to you that I think Mr. Slacken brought up a point maybe in the last board meeting about algebra and algebra scores and high schoolers and their inability to grasp the information that they need. I've been questioning you, Ms. Silver, for quite a long time on the everyday math. So a couple of your answers I had some concern about, and your label of the district's children as urban students. And it makes me concerned because you also stated about these students making incremental changes. And those changes, I think you were alluding to, was on a test. And your everyday math curriculum choice is not going to prepare our students to master algebra, which most college and admission boards will tell you that to have a solid foundation in algebra is most necessary to attend a four-year university. And I'm just wondering why my daughter or my son or anyone's daughter or sons are going to be just test subjects in your eyes.
That's your question.
And yes, I want to ask one more question. The SIG grant, I have to say I read it. And I think that you possibly could have been more aggressive with some of the numbers that you made in that grant proposal. You could have been more aggressive. And number two, you could have put more qualified people on that committee. So that questions your management and how you're doing things in the district.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no response, is there a motion to adjourn? Yeah, Ms. Silva is taking that under advisement, and she will be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Ada. Let's have a hand for Ms. Ada. This is her last meeting. And now we're adjourned. God bless.